All right. Thanks, Andrew. And thank you, everybody, for attending the final session of our first ever FlyPaper Summit. Um, it's been a good experience for us so far, and I hope that everybody has gotten some good information from the various sessions that we had throughout this summit. But at this point, we finally made it to the end. So this session is really just kind of a dedicated session for Dan and I to talk back and forth, and also to dialogue with everybody that's attending. So first, I'll show you what the agenda is for this. Dan and I, we're gonna kind of go over these first four topics. We're gonna have a dialogue back and forth about it. It's gonna be very informal, more just like a conversation. And then at the end, we've got an ending portion where we can have an open discussion with anyone that wants to, or if someone wants to throw questions into the webinar section, or into the GoToWebinar within the questions feature of it. You can do that as well throughout it, and we can address those toward the end. Dan, do you have anything to add to that before we jump into what our current products are?
I think you said it well, Nick.
Perfect.
I think let's dive in. Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna start with a dialogue about our current products, and we're gonna start with just us talking about about Sherlock. I'll start here. I'll just because Sherlock is my baby, I guess, is how you can put it.
Yeah, it's good that you start this one, because this definitely happens to be the area that I'm not strong in. I don't come from a BIM coordination background like you, and I rarely have much to say about Sherlock other than I'm just completely blown away with how well it's doing. Every time I've gone to an Autodesk conference with you in the last couple of years that we've been going, it's just really cool to hear people walk up, to hear people tell the stories about, they're just like, man, everything was so complicated, and now it's not. And what's even increasingly, what I continue to hear is, and I've actually heard you dialogue with people who are advanced Navisworks users, real power users, and I've heard the way you've dialogued and really shown how relevant Sherlock can still be, even if you're someone who's just so good at Navisworks. And then you have this on the other side of the spectrum. You just have these people who are probably a little bit more like myself, who have no BIM coordination background at all, but just with a little bit of training, like what Pablo was talking about yesterday. They're able to ramp up the BIM coordination expertise. And I just think that that's huge. So I actually just wanted to say, really good job, Nick, for making Sherlock.
Oh yeah. No, all that's very true. And yeah, I think Pablo really nailed it on the head during that Sherlock session yesterday. And the way that McCarthy is using Sherlock to be able to bring BIM coordination to project engineers that may not have the experience for BIM coordination, and just hearing that Sherlock is a big part of really making BIM coordination more accessible to fresh project engineers and people that don't have the experience. It's a really awesome thing.
That a large company like that is actually thinking that way and has realized its power and its promise and is fully leveraging it. That's pretty cool. I have no doubt, based on even my interactions with people at Autodesk and even BIM Forum the year previous, that's going to continue to grow. People are going to continue to think of tools like Sherlock itself, when it comes to ramping up their BIM coordination capabilities with people who have less experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's been really a common theme across the construction software industry too in the past 5 years or so. There's been like a buzzword of democratization of construction data, or the being able to democratize the 3D model so that everybody on your job can use it.
Right.
And I think things like Sherlock are key to being able to make that work, so that you can kind of bring bring all of these more technical aspects of construction and planning for construction directly to the people that may not have the technical expertise, and they really don't need it. They shouldn't need it. They shouldn't need that technical expertise to be able to access that information. So, yeah, I think Sherlock is a good step toward that.
I mean, Sherlock was really one of the first tools because I don't have a construction industry background. I came from, automation, manufacturing, aerospace, simulation computing, and things like that. The applications and stuff I've been building for a decade prior to joining FlyPaper were so much different. So there was quite a bit for me to learn and grasp. And even for me being very new to the concepts surrounding BIM coordination, very new to just construction in general. So we all know what that's like when it's a completely new world for you and you have no idea about anything, how hard it is to take in all this information and actually do something with it. Sherlock made sense to me. I mean, its value spoke to me immediately when you gave me that first demo. I'm like, of course. And of course, something like this should exist. And I can't believe that I actually understand what it's doing, considering I had at that point, nearly 3 years ago or however long it was, just really no understanding of these pieces of the life cycle of construction management. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I am very excited for the roadmap that we went over on Sherlock yesterday. From the batch features that we're working on and the reporting side of things. This is something that comes up again and again from our customers. I mean, even right at the beginning of the FlyPaper Daily session just before this, someone had thrown in a question about reporting on Sherlock. So yeah, it definitely comes up a lot, and we hear everybody loud and clear, and we're planning on implementing something like that. So we're excited for that. We're excited for the quote unquote new frontier of now that Autodesk BIM 360 Coordinate has opened up a little bit of their APIs.
I remember when we found out about that at Autodesk last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
If everybody could know how excited, everybody could see how excited this guy was. It was the first thing he said when we came out of the keynote. I think it was the keynote. You're like, oh my God. He wanted to start writing code right away. In fact, you probably started something. I swear. I mean, if we didn't have somebody visiting the booth, the laptop was open and you switched over and started at least giving us some notes for it. We talked about it a lot. So I'm extremely excited about that stuff too, because it all of a sudden it went from not having any avenue at all to really tie Sherlock into some of the cloud-based stuff that we've been working on, and it sort of just opened that door immediately to the possibilities that we could do with the work that we had already been doing together.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we had already been developing this platform that we built daily on top of, and for the longest time we thought, well, BIM 360 is a full cloud platform. We're never going to be able to do anything with Sherlock in it because none of their APIs are open to us. But now that they are, and we actually are in a place where we have a full-fledged cloud platform ourselves, it's going to be a very interesting next year ahead to see what we can do with adding Sherlock functionality into the more cloud-native versions of what Autodesk provides.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely of the things that we're brainstorming about for the future. It's one of the things I'm most excited about because Sherlock it's so critically important to us, and it's a highly useful application as well. But it's critical to us, and so this allows us to expand on Sherlock's features and continue to go down that story of BIM coordination and integrate with some of the big dogs and that's a big part of our connection story and things like that, playing well with others. So yeah, I'm super jazzed about it too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with that, we just kind of touched on our platform and daily a little bit. Let's jump over to our new product, FlyPaper Daily. So
something I know something about.
Oh, you know something about everything.
I know. I like to kid about it.
Yeah, I mean, our release of this is coming up really, really rapidly. November really isn't that far away anymore. So it's something that I'm really excited to see.
I'm too. We set forth with the plan for November being our time period. Maybe it was January, maybe it was December. It was around that time frame. It was earlier in the year, and I've been very encouraged by the fact that we're continuing to refine our engineering process and continuing to really refine our product management process and our release process and things like this, because these are the kinds of things that you have to have ready on top of the functionality and all that stuff to actually deliver something on time, but be able to consistently deliver and consistently give updates and, make it something that a large company or even any size company wants to use and deem reliable. So that has been extremely encouraging. Our continued growth with Encircle Tech has been very helpful in being able to do that. I'm extremely excited about it too. All of a sudden, it became August though, and I realized that it was just around the corner. So, and some of that's nerve-wracking. Not because you don't feel ready. It's just a big jump. It's another leap forward, just like no doubt Sherlock was when you finally opened it up for people to use, and you start to hear people outside of Barton Mallow use it, and the subcontractors that have been using it that you were familiar with. It just starts to become larger, and people start to see it, and that's just part of the growing pains of a new company, and it's always going to be part of the growing pains of making something new. And anyway, I felt that feeling before. I mean, just like this isn't your first, it's not mine either. But this month I was reminded of kind of what that feels like when you're getting close to the finish line for the version 1 release, of a product.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I feel that too. I definitely, there's a little bit of an anxiety about releasing it, but
right?
Yeah. But similar with Sherlock, and once everybody, outside of your sphere of people and that we've been talking to over the past, year and a half or 2 years about FlyPaper Daily, once everybody else starts seeing it, it is kind of amazing the amount of ideas and really like good feedback that you get from the wider community. So really, since we released Sherlock, we've gotten so many good feedback and good input, which really, almost completely dictated our roadmap for Sherlock and what it looks like today. And it's that's the fun part of it. Meeting with those new customers and really hearing what their problem points are and things like that. That's always fun.
That is one of the most exciting pieces. The requirement gathering, the product release, the customer interaction that comes with it. Just like when I was talking about in the daily talk session just before, the roadmap. The near-term roadmap was pretty bleak. A lot of it was more about device support and things like that, because we have left room for the fact that we know that now it's going to be all about really hearing what people think. Okay, that may have worked here, but it's not really going to work for us. So now they're going to teach us about some edge cases and some things that we need to consider. It'll help us identify different segments in the market that have the different, like I was saying before, the use cases, and just really help inform the future. So that's another thing that's been good about the time that we've spent making this, is because there's a lot of a rush of ideas that you and I had, and we were right about many. We were also wrong about many, and we would hear the feedback from our beta customers, and we would make these, so we got a chance to really get we've gotten things are now at a point where we've from when the arena that we are in, we've heard as much feedback as we're probably going to get at this point. We've exhausted a lot of our ideas. But we know it's good, so now we're ready to bring it out there so that other people can help it grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you're right, and it is anxiety a little bit too.
Yeah, it is.
I'm super eager for it. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
Another thing that's super. Oh, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, continue.
Another thing that's super exciting about Daily, just in this process, is how eager people have been to help us with it.
Yeah.
A lot of projects that have used it, that continue to use it, and then we start to hear them evangelize it on the job site, and people spread the word. And just like when Zach and Jason were asked to even speak about it, they were like, in fact, had we thought of that a few weeks prior, we probably could have filled that presentation with lots of people talking about things. That's just how many people were so happy to see it doing well and happy to continue to see the enhancements that were coming and stuff. So that's been a very piece of that story. And one thing that I love to hear is every time we do an onboarding, we actually, because, the way, for everybody that's listening, Nick and I have paid a lot of real close attention to that initial interaction with a customer, really holding hands really tightly. Granted, yes, when we, release it, things will be more polished in that regard. And we will maybe be less available in certain situations. You know how that goes as things grow. But we've been able to sit back and really spend time one-on-one with a new project when it starts. And one thing, and that's been great for us because we will hear recurring themes of problems or recurring themes of that's cool. But one thing that has continued to resonate, it's consistent across, honestly, I've never heard someone say it was hard to use. What I'm getting at is everybody said how easy it is to use, how easy it was to get set up, how, just how simple it is. Yet it's providing so much functionality and flexibility, like what the guys were talking about earlier with, functionality like tags, and there's no doubt so many other things. But that's cool. That's been encouraging because it's made me feel like we've been listening, we've been staying true to those things that we said when we first started working in front of that whiteboard a couple of years ago and started saying how we wanted things to be very easy to use for the technically improficient or the people who are not so inclined to be that, to use device and get fancy with it. Just want things to not have too many knobs, but just the right amount of knobs. And that's been a balance that you and I have always carefully weighed. And it seems to be paying off so far. That's another thing that gives me great encouragement for our release in November.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, Dan and I both do onboardings, and I can echo everything he just said. I mean, it's kind of amazing when you schedule like a 30-minute meeting with a project team, and then after 10 minutes they're like, yeah, we got it. All right, let's go. We're done. Like it's that easy for people to be able to take up and use, which is just really encouraging. And yeah, we have a lot of flexibility built into it, but that flexibility is built in a way that, gets out of your way when you're using the application. So we really spend a lot of time and agonize over how many buttons are we going to put in this thing? How many settings?
Agony, everybody. Like, serious agony.
But really, like we definitely butt heads with each other over it sometimes. And
we got to know each other in the process, didn't we?
Yeah, it always ends up with something that's a little bit better. So it's
what's cool about collaboration.
Yes, yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, and we've I mean it's been a really fun time creating this platform and creating this application, and I think that I'm just very excited to see it out there. And it should be a good time following November. So
I'm pretty excited about it too.
Yeah, me too. All right, so I'm going to keep us moving to our next topic of conversation, which is what are our lessons learned over these past couple of years that we've been working on newer products and things like that. The first one that I've got is, I developed Sherlock while I was a BIM coordinator. And there was a reason I was able to do that. And that is because making plugins and making point solutions like that is a lot easier than creating a full-fledged platform with users and cross devices and just being able to be infinitely scalable and all of that kind of stuff that goes along with, a modern web application or modern cloud application. That was definitely a learning curve for me. I know it's not as much for you, Dan, but that's just a lesson that I learned, which is that, making something like FlyPaper Daily, it was took a lot more time and a lot more effort than making something like Sherlock. But I think we've spent a lot of time, trying to get our platform ready and right, so that we're kind of at this starting point now where we can, really kick off new applications within our platform at a faster pace. So I'm excited to see that move forward.
Me too. And one thing I wanted to add to that is, that's why we clicked, and that's why you hired me, was because I came from that type of background, and I'd seen a few enterprise applications made out there, and I've had to, meet things like scalability and consider these things, but there was so much I had to learn as well because, yes, I was hip and I knew these things and I'd had some experience, but still a lot of that stuff was still in a 10-year-old mindset. And there was a lot of new ideas that I had and that you had been learning about that we wanted to bring in, like continuous delivery and integration, like the cross-device, cross-platform capabilities, the single code-based monorepo approach for our engineering. These are, which I know are terms that a lot of people might be like, what is he talking about? But I'm telling you right now, these types of patterns are what is driving innovation at companies like Google and Facebook and Spotify and all these places. And I was eager to join a startup that was at a point where we could start from the beginning and make these things. Whereas coming from a company like I had, where it was a lot harder to completely rebuild a stack. And I had rebuilt 2 stacks already in my career. And I knew what that was like. So the fact that like when you and I met and it was like, yeah, we're basically starting this from nothing, was one of the most exciting things. For someone who was curious like me, it was one of the most exciting things. And so we learned quite a bit together. There was just so much in that process that, conceptually I had read about, and you too. And we had to discover that stuff. And there's a lot of innovation that we came up with in that year, making it so that way we could write the code one time and actually really have it run everywhere was a huge, huge thing.
It was.
That is what allowed 2 people to carry things for that full year before we invited Circle to help us, augment our engineering capabilities and actually make it possible for us to keep up now with the demand that was happening and bring more value and continue to add new things. But had we not taken these approaches and had we not made these design considerations, we would have made something, but it wouldn't have been, it would have looked cool. I have no doubt, because all the other things that we bring to the table and really thinking about the way people behave with stuff. But those patterns that we learned together were huge. And no doubt they're going to be enabling a big piece of the continued success of the platform and FlyPaper Daily and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we set ourselves up really well with the amount of effort and time spent that you and I, whiteboarding ways that we can make our architecture better and make it so that it'll make more sense to anyone new jumping in if we needed to add engineering resources or anything like that. I think all that time spent, it felt like for a long time we weren't really doing anything, but all that time spent is really paying off now. I mean, we've got 3 additional people that are now helping us engineer this thing, and they've all been able to jump in and rapidly start providing value because of all those design considerations that we put up front. So I think that's something that we did really well.
And you were very complimentary to that because, you have not been programming as long as me, but that didn't really show itself at all. Because I don't know if it's because you've been constructing things your entire life, so you know how to see things in chunks and kind of think of things in a Lego construction type way. But you were very open, though, to a lot of these philosophies and really eager to jump into them, which is not something, I'll be honest, I really, really received with a lot of people I've worked with. So that was like super huge that you were open to a lot of those ideas. And anyway, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of that also came from your guidance too. I mean, as we said a few times, I mean, you have so much more experience in this realm than I do. And also you mentioned earlier, like, you don't have a construction background, right? I can say the same thing about that for you. I mean, you came in and you started providing value on, like, what should these features look like, and what people in the field may want, and you're really good at listening to our customers, our clients, and getting that honest feedback out of them, and really understanding, okay, what makes sense and what doesn't. So I was definitely surprised at how much value brought on that side of things as well. And it's just been really great.
Well, thanks, dude. Sometimes when you don't know anything, it can be helpful. Yeah, I'd spent a lot of time with, like, requirement gathering and things like that. So that helped a lot. And I had someone like you who could kind of, really break things down. You've always been really good at, I'm like, okay, what is BIM coordination? What is, I mean, not so, behind the curve, like, what is a hammer, but it really, really was green, and you had to be patient while I asked the quote unquote stupid questions of someone who's so new to the business. So anyway,
no, we've definitely we've jived really well, and we've really just provided value from our both different perspectives, and it's just been really good, I think, throughout this entire process. And I think that's really what has led to this platform being at the point where it is, for us to be able to really kind of kick off our products now. So I think it's just been really good.
I agree, man. I agree.
So taking a step away from our lessons learned about our platform and our development and stuff like that, one thing we've definitely learned throughout this, which wasn't necessarily the case, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago when we first started thinking about these things, but construction companies are now leaning toward the massive, all-encompassing products these days. The Procores of the world, the BIM 360s, the e-builders, those types of things. So, like, all-in-one products, and those products are they're not necessarily the best at every single thing they do. It's just they offer them all. And there's one big problem that comes up with those, and that's the fact that construction is a very collaborative thing. You have a different project team every single project. You have different subcontractors, and everybody uses different systems like this. So someone might force you to use Procore's dailies on a project that you're on, but you use BIM 360 dailies, or you use something else for your company. And then, undoubtedly with that comes some type of need for double entry, which is the biggest no-no word in our industry. But
any problems associated with that? Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and because we've seen this and we've heard this from a lot of people, that is really part of the reason why we are so focused on our connections story of FlyPaper Daily, and for any project that or any product that we develop. It's we really see this as a way for if I'm a subcontractor and I show up on a job site and somebody tells me, all right, do your dailies in Procore, well, you can just keep using FlyPaper Daily and have your information automatically pushed into Procore for you. So you can continue to use FlyPaper Daily, or if you've got somebody that needs that information in BIM 360, we're offering the same type of connection there. You're able to push that data from where you just do your work, rather than you having to learn somebody's new system or learn or do double entry between the two things. So I think it's just something that we've learned, that companies are leaning toward those huge products, and we need to be able to play nice with everybody. I think, Dan, you've been saying the words "play nice" a lot, so I think that's really a good explanation of it.
Well, one thing that I wanted to add to that, and everything you just said was spot on. It's this connections piece to our platform is this underlying fundamental idea that we have behind any of the apps that we're going to bring into it. The argument of, well, everything's in one place. and people will go with something like a BIM 360. It's definitely a great tool. And they will go with something like Procore's platform. And even if it's lacking in a particular area, if it's lacking in its field or daily capabilities or something like that, people will still stay with it because everything's still in one place. And I guess one thing we're able to say is, okay, still do that. You can use our tool and we will just fit right in with whatever you're doing. So this allows customers to do something like, well, look, yes, for all of our projects, we want to manage everything through something larger like this platform. However, FlyPaper does daily better. So maybe we want to use them and connect the daily reporting stuff directly into our platform. So that way we can get the benefits of FlyPaper Daily without having to, radically change the way we just do things in general across the different things that we need, different applications we need in that construction lifecycle.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think that's all I've got for lessons learned. Do you have anything else there?
No.
All right, so let's move on to ideas for the future. So just to preface this one, this isn't about talking about our roadmap or anything like that, or what we're going to do. This is more of a conversation of just like, where do we see, where do we see FlyPaper Daily going? What could it integrate with? Where do we see Sherlock going? What could we do there? Where do we see, what our professional services might look like, stuff like that. So we're just going to have a conversation surrounding those things. Just want to be very clear. These are not topics that we're going to be making products out of right away. So
we're not making promises.
Yeah.
This is just the way Nick and I usually talk from time to time about things that we think could be relevant, things that we could do with what we've been creating. And hopefully it sort of inspires you all to consider what we're talking about. Maybe we'll get a message saying, hey, you know what? That's a pretty good idea. Or, hey, I've got a couple of good ideas of my own, just from my perspective in this industry. I mean, that's really, I think, what this chat's about.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think I'll kick it off with, we have this daily application that we're going to be releasing in November. And there's been, even through our beta program for it, I mean, there's been ideas that have come up from our customers and just that we've come up with of like things that may work really well with the concept of a superintendent daily. There's things like all the safety aspects that a field superintendent has to do. Doing those pre-task plans, doing those toolbox talks, like those types of things that they're doing on a daily basis. We feel like there might be a very good story there for being able to have information flow through, all of those pre-task plans, and then into your daily report at the end of the day, and try to like streamline some of that work that gets done on a quote unquote daily basis on your job.
Yeah, we talked about that before. We started hearing from people. They were saying things like, people oftentimes talk about everything being in one place, but specifically to the daily piece, specifically to the job site work in a given day, the accountability related to safety, the accountability related to the weekly toolbox talk that everybody needs to listen to. And people, and obviously pre-task planning, GHAs and things like that are things that we've heard a lot about as well. So we continue to play with these ideas. We've even proof of concept a few things with our platform. And, we've at this point, we were basically focused on finishing up the daily story and obviously preparing things for release, but it's definitely up in the air if we will focus on these things. I still think there's something to it. I got to be honest. And I kind of want to know what the market thinks, honestly.
Yeah. And definitely I want to, it's something that I still think that there might be something there as well. But we got to see like, how do we fit in, right? So everything that we talk about that we do, and with the connections and everything, we always have to think about, well, how do we fit in with that broader market of of products that are out there already. So it's just, I think there definitely might be something there. And then there might also be something for, going a little bit a step before, work is actually being done on the job site, which is kind of what Daily is really focused on. It's like work that's happening right now. But there very well could be a good story for us to move more into like the scheduling side of things. For that kind of like planning that happens right before work is happening on the job. So that
area is extremely fascinating to me in my observation about how, what people need to get done to build. I'm really glad you brought that up, because that area right there continues to be a fascination of mine as well. I mean, we have the today story pretty fleshed out. We're going to be doing some polishing, obviously some bug fixing, things like that. But there's really what happens in the day is really a continuation of some stuff that's been happening previously, which is what you were talking about. And we could have a piece of that story, even if it's creating actual planning, scheduling related features, or integrating with existing scheduling or planning related software, so that way they can take that data and send it into the Daily. I mean, I think both of those avenues, there's very possibly something there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think tying superintendent dailies and to scheduling a little bit more tightly would be beneficial for everybody on a job site, because I know that there's a lot of job sites out there that, they might have a schedule, but it kind of gets thrown in a drawer, and then superintendents just kind of, get the job done is a common occurrence. But and that works sometimes, but we all know horror stories of when that doesn't work. So I think there's a good opportunity there for us, possibly.
Yeah. And, I mean, right now we have a big question mark on another area, which is the unknown. Totally unknown. Some of the things that we've been talking about, even just within the last, few minutes, has been things that can sort of complement the Daily story. I know that we're also open to something else entirely that can be based on that platform, something else meaningful that could, some problem that's not being solved well, or not being solved at all, because that's been my observation, again, as someone who isn't from this industry. What you learn by coming from other industries is you see every industry's technical readiness. You see what they expect and the level of sophistication they have when it comes to technical processes. And so what comes with that is there's no doubt gaps that still need to be filled in this business. And I'm constantly waiting for people to, or eager to hear them when they do give ideas for, that next big app idea that is really just going to complement the construction life cycle in some way that it's just not being complemented yet. Or what few players exist in that space just aren't quite doing it right. Maybe they did it right 20 years ago and they've just been keeping that same code base and not really updating it that much, and it still only works on Windows. These types of things. I certainly, and I know you do, remain open to those types of possibilities as well.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, our biggest asset is our customers and their ideas, to be honest. I mean,
right.
We can come up with cool things all we want, but unless it's something that's, that applies to the wider audience of the construction industry, we're kind of dead in the water there. So we're always open to hearing things from our customers, not only about our current products or anything like that, just a dialogue about what could be better in the construction industry. I mean, we love having those conversations. So we really do, really would like people to engage with us over those types of things. And that kind of brings us to, this other new thing that we kind of announced in the keynote almost. I think it was the keynote. Yeah, it was. That we're gonna start this professional services portion of FlyPaper Technologies. So we've had people approach us that are Sherlock customers or not to just build some like small tools or something like that for their individual company or for their that one process that they need to just make a little bit better, that kind of stuff. In the past, we've always kind of turned those things down because we've been working on our platform, we've been working on Sherlock, we've been working on FlyPaper Daily. We haven't had
we weren't ready. Yeah, we just weren't ready. Yeah. I mean, and we weren't ready in other areas too. Like everything you're saying is true, but we just like, even as a team building something like this, we just weren't quite ready, and that was the truth. And then I remember when it came about, when you came to me and, there was, you had brought up professional services once more. And honestly, I had always mentioned it as a possibility coming from a software background. I know that this is an avenue that exists for a software shop, obviously. But I also know what it means to do that and the complexities that come with it and the maintenance burden that can come with it and all these different things. So I initially, even a couple of years ago, was shy to the idea, to be honest. What changes my opinion about that, however, is our platform and our processes and all these things that have made it come to a point where we can knock out apps and features quickly. Mm-hmm. Our expertise, our proficiency is there, and we've already got a rep in our head how the maintenance would be handled between customers, how the hosting and the support and, service agreements every year, if there's going to be some new functionality and how we would handle that entire process. We've just become very good at that. And that, when you did bring it back to me, many months back, I think this was the first time that I was very encouraged about it, because we really are at a level of readiness to where it wouldn't be a burden. It would actually be complementary to what we do. We could maintain our applications and, craft features and applications for customers as well. We can handle it. We can do it. I mean, and that was basically what started making me pretty excited about the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, now that we've got our platform in the right place, I feel the same way. Now it just makes sense for us to be able to do this. And because people have approached us in the past, it's just kind of a no-brainer for us. I mean, it's a really kind of an unknown though. I mean, it's like is anyone going to do it now or not? I guess so. It's just going to be it'll be very interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years with that professional services portion of FlyPaper.
What's especially interesting about it to me is the fact that when we had that conversation, and we've had a few since, we've consistently remained open to actually making something that is not even in the construction industry at all.
Yep.
And taking on professional service engagements like that. And what I like about that is because you learn from other industries by observing what they need and what they do. Mm-hmm. There's so much that you can gain in this industry here in construction by going out and doing something for a film industry, or going out and doing something for aerospace, or manufacturing, or any of the types of things that are actually available to us in our metro area, especially. The takeaway you get is really cool. You can really, you can say, hey, you know what? In construction, we just do a lot of things better. The way they think is just cooler. I now know that, having done this thing over here. Or flip-flop that and literally go to another industry and create an application for their vertical that involves animation and maybe some things that basically are no more applicable to that industry. The techniques that you learn, the way that you gather those requirements, and then going back to the technique piece, the way that you actually engineered the solution, that's a takeaway. That's something that you can bring back to construction. That's something that we can bring and learn from and bring it into our core, functionality. So the fact that we're even open to explore professional services beyond construction, I think, is also kind of exciting.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely going to bring value to our existing products and future products. So I think it'll be a very, very fun thing, hopefully. So, all right.
Yeah,
I think that we'll move on to our last topic, I believe, which is the FlyPaper ethos. It's a funny word. That's why I'm laughing. I promise. Yeah, when we were talking about this section, Dan and I, it's really, what are our tenets as a company? Like what drives the underlying portion of each one of our products. And I know for me, it's coming from a construction background, and the whole reason why I started writing software was to make construction software a little bit easier to use and to get out of your way. That's always going to be kind of at my core, I think, and at this company's core, which is just the idea that construction software, yes, we should be using it, but it should not be hard to use. It should be easy to use.
Right.
It should get out of your way. It should fit seamlessly into what you're already doing. And then if you can build software like that, you can build something where we can leave the users with more time to just do what they do good at, or do what they do really well, which is build buildings and actually be out there.
Not work with software. Right.
What's that?
I said it's not working with software.
Yes.
That's not. Yeah. It's not supposed to be the job. It's just supposed to complement their job.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think that is definitely at the core of everything we try to do. You can see that in Sherlock and how people can pick it up with almost no training, and you can see that in Daily, which is the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I've definitely appreciated the fact that you felt that way. That definitely resonated with me when I started with you, is the fact that you felt that way, because it has actually informed so many of the features that we've made and the way that we go about it. Oftentimes I'll say it's a very Apple mindset. It's a very Apple, a lot of companies will present a number of options and knobs. And I'm not saying that that's not cool. And no doubt you can get some cool stuff from that. But a lot of times Apple will say, well, that's cool, but how about these two really are the ones? We did the basic configuration for all these other ones. We made the right assumptions here. So we just brought you two or one. And that's not an easy thing to do when it really gets down to it. A lot of people can talk about, well, we're going to make it simple and easy to use. But you and I have been through that rabbit hole many times when we've been working on something, and sometimes we'll find ourselves making something complicated. And we're like, whoa. This is taking too long. This whole thing isn't working right. And we've redone whole things based on that. We've completely rewritten components for our framework. I mean, because it matters that much to us, because it is such a core fundamental piece of what we are as a company and how we approach making stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think the other thing that comes to my mind too is that you touched on it a lot in the FlyPaper Daily session, that we really see, especially on construction projects, we see that this software really needs to be open, it needs to be collaborative, and it needs to have transparency, because so much of construction goes poorly because people don't talk to each other, or someone tries to hide information from someone else. And we really want to foster that collaborative environment in any tool that we make, so that things like that don't happen on job sites.
Yeah. We've been able to take that approach and really apply it to so much of what we do. Even if we were to take a step, another piece of that, I know that's such a big part of our ethos is we take that same approach to even how we're crafting it at all, not just designing the features or how many clicks it would take and what the UI will look like and all that sort of stuff, but how we actually engineer solutions, the way that we actually go about developing it, the way we go about managing the team that engineers it, how we maintain all that code, and how we, continually are able to ship it out to customers. I mean, this ties into that as well. We are able to work together, just the two of us, because of the fact that we've really formalized processes related to this mindset. We've been able to expand our team with Encircle to give us more velocity and how fast we can do these types of things because of that same mindset. What I continue, and even and we even talked about this earlier today, but what I'm just reminded of in us dialoguing about it now is how that piece right there has applied to every single aspect of what we're doing.
Yeah, no, it really has. Yeah, no, really. And yeah, you touched on, our engineering philosophy a little bit there. And yeah, it definitely goes into that as well. I mean, the way that we wanted to develop this platform was a way that we wanted to be able to make it so that our engineers would be able to truly work on the entire thing, that they could be true cross-platform, full-stack developers, meaning they can work on the mobile side, they can work on the website, they know how to work on the back-end servers. It's all in one code base. It's very easy to understand. It's all written in the same language across everything, so that you're really able to, have engineering work on anything that they want to. So if someone
it wasn't easy to pull that off.
No,
it wasn't easy to pull that off. I mean, because seriously, you and I, with a number of the open source tools that we use to craft things like this, had hit the limits of most of them.
Oh yeah,
we hit the limits of most of them, and had to find ways to keep our vision intact from the engineering side. And I'm so glad we did, and I'm so glad that you're smart because we were, we were able to actually get through those hurdles and not do what most companies can do. And I know this because I've worked for some of them. You will let technical decisions drive functionality. And this is something that has bothered me, because when I started off in the software business, I was a product manager. And the last thing I wanted to hear was, well, technically we can't do that. And I don't ever want to hear that. I don't like hearing that. It frustrated me so much that I became an engineer because I was tired of hearing that.
Well, technically we can do anything. That's where we have to always be.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. So yeah, I think that pretty much covers what our FlyPaper ethos. I mean, really, we're trying to make software that is super easy to use, gets out of your way, lets you do your job, and we're taking that to heart for ourselves and for our own employees and people that work on our stack. We take that same approach to our platform to make it so that our platform gets out of the way of our engineers, so that they are able to develop features and products faster for you guys.
Even the open, collaborative, full transparency piece that we bring into our features, we have in our engineering process.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everyone can see everything. Everything's up for discussion. Everything can, everybody has visibility in what the other's doing. In fact, we encourage it. And when we make changes, we have workshops, and we want to show them, how I did this. And the N-Circle team is continuously reaching out and saying, hey, did we do this right? Hey, maybe we should do it different. We thought this, we all thought this, but now I got a different idea. It turns out, when we got down to it, that didn't work the way that we thought. It may not be as easy for customers as we expected. All that stuff. And if we didn't encourage such open communication, people wouldn't feel like they could say that. And it would have definitely, impeded our ability to make features the way that we do.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think with that, we'll move over to the open discussion with our attendees. And like I said earlier, you can use the questions portion of GoToWebinar. If you actually want to talk to us, you can do that too. Just use the raise your hand feature of the webinar, and one of us will unmute you so that you're able to ask your question if you want to do it that way. But I'll turn it over to Andrew a little bit right now. Do we have any questions from attendees yet?
Yeah, I actually have a couple that have popped up so far. So let me hop into this first one. Okay, so my first question I have is, Autodesk hasn't invested in Navisworks in many years. Do you think that Sherlock will become irrelevant as newer cloud-based applications take its place?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. It's one that, we've definitely talked about a lot because Sherlock is our, quote unquote, first product and flagship product right now. Yes, now Autodesk has put almost zero effort into Navisworks over the past few years. They do keep releasing new versions. They barely do anything different. With talking to coordinators, I don't think Navisworks is going away anytime soon because of the amount of functionality that it provides. So that is a positive for Sherlock. But that's the fact that everybody's moving to these more cloud-based coordination platforms. Eventually, we'll get there. That's kind of the reason why we're excited to kind of delve into the BIM 360 coordinate side of things and to try to bring the Sherlock features that everybody knows and loves in Navisworks and bring those over to the BIM 360 world, and then after that, we'll look at other coordination platforms that exist. But I think we've got a good route forward with Sherlock, even if Navisworks does eventually get sunsetted by Autodesk. But yeah, it's always something that we're thinking about.
Awesome, perfect. Okay, and another question I have is, since the big platforms, Procore, BIM 360, have their own daily features built into them, why do you think a standalone daily application is the right thing to invest time in?
Yeah, Dan, you want to take this one?
I think this just kind of builds off of some of the stuff that we've been talking about related to like our connections piece. And well, I'll actually rephrase this. So how do we think a standalone daily app fits in? I mean, it fits in because of our connection story. It fits in because we will play well with others. We will integrate with the Procores. We will integrate with the BIM 360 applications. So that's why it can be a standalone application. Another reason is because we really think that our approach to the superintendent daily story is relevant. We think it's really cool. Our everything that we've been really drilling in, our open communication, our transparency. This is something that you're not seeing in other daily reporting tools. And I would challenge you. I would challenge anyone to give it a shot when it comes out in November. Play with it. Why don't you take a look and see just why this standalone daily application is actually something that is worth investing your time with.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, perfect. Yeah, and again, if anyone else would like to jump in or ask any more questions, feel free to submit those or raise your hand if you want to talk live. But another question I had submitted is, what do you think the pricing model will be for your professional services?
Sure, yeah.
That's all you, Nick.
No, you can jump in. So obviously with professional services, every single project is different. It takes a different amount of time, takes a different amount of resources, things like that. So really all I can say at this point in time is, for approach to do a professional service and to create a product for someone, then we'll sit down, we'll go through a discovery period, which is where we sit down with the key stakeholders at that company to understand exactly what the product requirements are for that product. And then after that discovery portion is when we would actually provide the full quote for that. There would be a nominal fee for doing the entire discovery portion for each product. But that would just be to cover our time for while we're doing that. But,
yeah, and that's just to add to that. That's not uncommon in the professional service space to go to one group and get things done at the discovery level or even to the design level, and pay that and then take that design to another shop. That's happened sometimes. So of course we need to charge for that. But a lot of times, people do that because they want to see another company take another take at it, and then they'll come back.
Yep.
And realize maybe we're going to do it better.
Absolutely.
Awesome, perfect. And also, if anyone has any clarification questions they'd like to ask, feel free to drop those in the chat or ask a question about those. Okay, cool. Another question that I have is, are you willing to engage in projects that are outside of the construction industry for your professional services?
Yeah, I think Dan actually touched on this a little bit while we were talking about professional services. Yeah, it definitely is. Obviously, a lot of our expertise is in the construction realm, but that does not mean that the platform we've made is not applicable to other industries. And actually, it is completely generic. So we can apply everything that we've learned through building FlyPaper Daily and our platform to any industry. So yeah, we're open to many things.
Awesome. Okay. Then another question I have is enterprise pricing something that you're exploring for Sherlock?
Yeah, this is actually something that's come up recently from some of our bigger customers for Sherlock. The need for to not have to deal with, okay, how many network seats do we have or anything like that. It's just, I want to put this on every single computer I've got, and everybody should be able to use it whenever they want. That's essentially what an enterprise license agreement would look like. So yes, yeah, that's absolutely something that we're looking at implementing. And if someone is interested specifically about that, they can reach out to us, and we can set up a meeting to kind of understand their usage and what their specific enterprise agreement would look like.
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. And then another question that popped up is, I noticed Android support for dailies was on the roadmap. Will this be supported prior to November when you launch?
And you want to take it?
Yes. Yep. And that's an easy one. I'll take that one. Yes. I mean, basically at this point, it works. It's functional. We want to do some wrap-up testing on it to make sure it's bulletproof. And then really it's about really just making sure our process to deploying things to Google Play is fleshed out, which just takes about a month to really just get ironed out. Like with the App Store for Apple, we've been through that pain. We figured out how that works. And so now we've got our delivery mechanism for getting to the Apple App Store out pretty easy. And so Android basically has just been kind of waiting in the rears for the same thing. No doubt we haven't made a decision on this yet, but if we were to go the route of the Apple or the Mac App Store and the Windows App Store to deploy the desktop versions, we would have to go through a similar thing. It doesn't mean that that's how we're going to do it. Maybe we will have a downloadable binary. Maybe we'll do both. I don't know. But that's basically kind of very close to where we're at with that as well. It's really about sort of refining what is going to be that delivery process. Yeah. So again, yes, Android is definitely going to be ready for prime time in November.
Awesome. Okay. So that's the main questions we have for the moment. There was one question that was asked by someone earlier, but I wanted to make sure that everyone heard the answer to it. The question was, have you considered developing a clash reporting exporter alongside your add-ons for Navisworks and communicating general clashes? Navisworks building reporting tool is really rough and dated. Smiley face. So that's the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we touched on this yesterday at the Sherlock session. Yes, it's on our roadmap to provide better reporting features out of the box via Sherlock.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Again, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to pop them in. But that was the hottest topics of the moment.
Yeah,
those are good questions. Yeah.
And I just want to take a second and say thank you to everybody that sat through our 2-day summit and went to the various sessions. It was actually a lot of fun doing it. It really was.
Yeah, it was. It really has just signified just a level of readiness that we're at right now in terms of where we're at. We knew it was time to sort of bring something like this together to get everybody involved just to hear. We're actually super impressed with the turnout. It beat my figure, my projections, to be completely honest with you. So I just really think it's cool to see all that support. FlyPaper really does have a very loyal Sherlock customer base, which has been huge. And, obviously we're looking to expand that and grow beyond just the BIM coordination story, but other things as well. So I know for a lot of you, some of the stuff wasn't as relevant to the tool that you're accustomed to using. And it was really cool to see how many of you actually stuck around to find out more and even hang out inside this fireside chat with us and just to hear about some of the things that we've got cooking and just the way we think about stuff. So yeah, I say thank you as well. And I guess the weekend's coming up and have a really great one.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, looks like there's no more questions, so I think we're going to sign off here.
All right. Well, I guess
thanks everyone for joining. Oh, and there's no for anyone listening.
See you later.
That I will. I know for anyone listening, we will be sending out a recording of this session out later if you have anything you missed or anything else you want to double check on.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Well,